Hi, welcome to my channel. I am someone who has very heavy menstrual flow. So heavy that I can measure it by the measuring cup full. Actually, I use a menstrual cup and I've always had a heavy flow. I've had multiple surgeries for fibroid removal and it's been a long process, but I'm 31 years old right now, healthy weight and good general health. This is just something that I've suffered with for a long time. It's not always been heavy. When I was in high school, I suppose I did cramp a lot and it was very heavy. As you can tell there, that's about a quarter cup of blood that I've recently passed. And that after a 30-minute interval of changing my menstrual cup. My cup was completely full. That's exactly, my cup fills to 30 milliliters. Anyways, I was saying in high school, yes, I did have lots of cramps. Eventually those went away and I've had a generally regular period until I noticed symptoms associated with fibroids. When I saw my doctor, I was put on a couple treatments to help alleviate that, and eventually it was decided that I would have a myomectomy. My first surgery was laparoscopic, and I can talk about that later, but for now, I just wanted to show you exactly what my cup fills with. At first I was kind of grossed out by this, but now I think it's actually pretty beautiful, the color. You can see here, when I pull my cup out, there's a loose material I just think is quite pretty. It doesn't smell bad. I think it's such a vibrant red, and actually that's beautiful right there. And I think me wanting to take a deeper look at what's in my menstrual cup really stems from wanting to reconcile my heavy flow with feeling, moving it from a place of negativity and despair to something that is a part of me, and learning how to identify it and work through it. And I have to tell you, ever since I've moved from just regular pads and tampons, I feel much more attached to my period, to my flow, and I just so appreciate this evolution. I don't like bleeding this much. I don't want to confuse anyone. I really don't. And sometimes I'm kind of scared by it. Immediately after my first myomectomy to remove fibroid, bleeding really stopped quite a bit. You can tell this isn't a standard dinner plate size. This is a little bit smaller. It's my hand for reference. Again, it's about 30 milliliters of material altogether. And I wanted to take a closer look at it. I've been keeping track of my period, being very regimented in how I track it and how I log the flow, or rather the collection, because since I'm using a menstrual cup, I don't really flow anymore, but I just collect what's in there. So you can tell it's really quite gelatinous. There's some darker parts here. This happens, from what I've seen, a fair amount, where I get these kind of strings coming off. Anyway, yeah, you look online for clots to see what they look like, and I'm not a doctor. I don't imagine this is healthy. I have a very good doctor, actually. A very good doctor. And so I wouldn't use this as reference to look at your clots and say, oh, mine looks something like that, I must be okay, because she is too. I don't want to normalize how unhealthy this might be. I find it kind of fascinating. I'm not a doctor, again, but I find this interesting. And It's a part of me. Nothing gross about it. If there are any doctors out there that would like to comment on this, I would appreciate your consultation. Although, again, I feel very confident in my doctor, and we do have a plan. I had a miscarriage in October 2018. It's now the end of April. I would have been expecting a baby around sometime now. But sadly that didn't happen. That was a lot to process and to work through. And I didn't have a flow like this. I wasn't making clots like this before my miscarriage. I had my miscarriage, and during the miscarriage that was a terrible experience. I was passing clots as big as this, and it was pretty miserable. And then I opted eventually for a DNC because my hormone levels, my HCG wasn't going down, so I wanted to just work through it. A couple of weeks later, it was, and the process miscarriage is a funny thing. I remember being in the hospital and kind of cracking jokes with the nurses, not being present in the moment, which is what I want to do now, and recenter, be present again. And the whole thing kind of derailed me emotionally. I think I didn't realize that until a couple months later when I looked around and I thought, oh, I've not been so productive since my miscarriage. I didn't realize that I was maybe depressed. I didn't realize that I was putting on a lot of weight. I didn't realize a lot of things. I just was sad. Not so much sad for the loss. I mean, I think we each have our own belief systems, and I do believe in something more. But I also think that it was so early, it was about 11 weeks, that I really, I didn't feel like I had lost a baby. I felt like I had lost hope. I want to be pregnant soon. I find this so concerning, though. I don't think it bodes well. This sort of thing that happens. This month, this month I had a period like normal. I think it was from the 16th to 22nd. Pretty normal flow. I mean, normal is such a weird word, but it seemed very manageable. Like the tampons and pads could have easily taken care of it. Again, I use a cup, but it just seemed normal to me. Nothing unusual about it. But for the second month in a row, following my period, about 3 to 4 days, I start bleeding again. And not just bleeding, but these huge, immense clots coming out. This is maybe the worst one that I've caught in my cup. A couple have gone into the toilet, but this is probably the worst one that I've gotten in my cup. Anyway, I guess I don't know why I'm sharing this. Can't cut it. It's really, I think it's fibrous, maybe just full of proteins or something. I don't know. It's coagulated blood, so it's just, I can kind of tell it's starting to oxidize. It's getting darker as I talk. I can't believe this is not a sufficient tool, and I don't have a very good rig here. I'm using my phone, so my other hand is busy doing that. But yeah, I would love to hear from the women, anyone who has a period. Talk about your feelings about your period. I would like to remove the stigma of periods, of clotting, of fibroids, endometriosis, miscarriage. These are part of our body. These are things that we shouldn't be ashamed of, and I feel like we are. I mean, I can't walk the walk right now. I'm doing this behind a screen. I don't want to share who I am because I still feel the stigma that I'm trying to break, and I guess that's as honest as I can be. It's a little, anyway. Yeah, I still think that this is something that's as disturbing as it is, as scary as it is. To me, it's still, I'm amazed by the color, the clarity of the fluid, and that my body, as weird as this all is and as scary as it is, my body is doing something. I don't know what that means, but I want to come to terms with it. And I want other people to see. You Google, I've tried Googling WebMDing, I can't figure it out. Maybe we can talk about it together. There we go, I'll put that back. And I'll just flush this down the toilet. And I'll post again. I don't know. Maybe tomorrow with another big clot. Maybe in a month. Maybe never. Anyway. To all my sisters with a period, it's really beautiful, actually.